Well, hello, all you ghouls and goblins. It has been far too long since we sat down and did an episode of Killer Cuts or a chapter of Killer Cuts. So, new look, new design, but same old hosts. I am Bobby Munson, and beside me, the natural Astrid Pizarro. How are you doing today, Astrid? Great to see you back on Killer Cuts.
I'm still waking up, but again, like I told you, I've been holding off on watching both of these trailers because of this. So it's been kind of hard to avoid this since they came out. It's been the challenging part. But how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat because each one of them keeps popping up on my YouTube feeds, and I'm like tempted. No, I promised we were going to react to these, so we are going to give you, the fans, our live reaction, pre-recorded reactions. Maybe I'll throw the banner up there so nobody gets any silly mistakes that we're live with this stuff or anything. But there we go. This is a pre-recorded video. Leave your replies in the comment section. But we are happy to do a reaction to the Crow 2024 reboot. Then we're going to jump over to The Strangers Chapter 1, and then we're going to top it off with some Scream 7 news and thoughts for you all. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in. Like, follow, subscribe, all those wonderful things to everything OLE, and on our personal channels as well, too. We'll get to that at the end of the video for you. But, Astrid, let's talk a little bit about The Crow before we play this trailer. So there has been, I think, 3-4 Crow movies prior to this installment from the original series. The first one, the notorious one with Brandon Lee, where he met his untimely demise legitimately in a very unfortunate incident on set back in the 1990s. I recall both these movies, or the first two anyway, I was really into. I did see the third one, wasn't as big on it. The first two, really, really good, backed up by some killer soundtracks. Loved the soundtracks to both these movies back in the day. So I'm very much looking forward to see what they got here, especially with Bill Skarsgård, who I think is an interesting pick for the selection in this movie. How about yourself? Thoughts on this going in?
I mean, I didn't get to watch them right as they were happening. I watched them years later. I just remember having those kind of moments with my brother that he'll be like, we haven't seen this one, so let's go watch it, because we watched the horror movies together. So it was one of those, like, we haven't seen this one, so let's watch it together. And I enjoyed it. I don't remember watching the rest of them, but I know that for sure when this comes out, I'll probably do like a little marathon and watch them all to kind of refresh my mind and compare them to this one. Bill, like you said, is an interesting choice. When I first thought about this, I kept thinking, how is it going to do this? That's all I could think about. But it's just funny to think of, like, when you think about people with certain roles, it's kind of hard to take him off of those roles. So that's how I see him here. I was like, how is this clown going to do this? I don't know. I'm curious. So I haven't, like you said, I've been avoiding it since it got released because I've been waiting to do this, and I'm kind of scared, to be honest.
Well, no better time than ever to start going through this. And again, if there's any point in time during this that you want me to pause it and we need to discuss something, let me know. Otherwise, we'll watch it through and see how it goes here and let everybody know our thoughts. So here we go with the Crow official 2024 trailer.
You feel like my best. What's the worst thing you've ever done? I saw things. I shouldn't have seen any of it.
Okay, I am going to pause it for 1 second there. So, understandably, the premise definitely the same as the original. So, in the original, they're witnessing his wife and I believe his son, if I'm not mistaken, murdered by people in front of him, and then he is killed himself too, which allows him the opportunity to return as the Crow and seek vengeance upon those who did him wrong. So, it does seem very familiar in terms of the opening portion of this.
Yeah, for me, the makeup, though, if you have seen it, if you haven't, there's a movie called Beastly. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling kind of thing to it. His makeup reminds me a lot of the Beast in Beastly so far. And I don't know how I feel about that.
I guess we'll see how far this goes. Let's continue. Oh, I love the song in the background, by the way. It's great.
I did too. Yeah.
That crow carries a soul to the land of the dead. That sometimes something so bad happens that the soul cannot rest until you put the wrong things right. You were given the power of that god. But you're running out of time to save her. I'm gonna kill you. Every single one of them. You killed you. Yeah, you did.
We have a problem. He came for us.
First impulse. Anger. It's not anger. It's love. Look at what you've become. You know that love promises only pain. You have no idea what hell awaits you. No, I do.
Okay, so there it is, the Crow 2024 trailer. Interesting. Again, Say What You Want, I believe is the name of the song. It's Ozzy featuring, and I'm losing my mind not knowing who's on the song with him right now. It'll come to me probably when we go and check out the next trailer, but it's a great track that's been out for quite a few years, so it already gives me hopes in terms of the soundtrack to this movie. I like the visuals. I do like the visuals. The story seems very familiar, including when he's going up the staircase and everybody shooting at him at the same time feels very reminiscent of in the original one where Brandon Lee jumps on the table in front of all the different mob bosses and they're all firing, which unfortunately is where Brandon Lee, the accidental shooting happened and he lost his life. But it's a very familiar story. They didn't tweak it too much, but they didn't make it so far gone from the original concept that I'm not with it. I like what I see. I'm more curious now to watch it than I was when they first announced it because I haven't had much faith in the Crow series after the first couple of them. But this gives me a little bit of a fresher breath of fresh air going into this. I think I'm ready to give my time to watching this Crow reboot. So yourself.
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't look bad. I thought we saw all the comments. I thought it was gonna be worse than that. But no, to answer your first question, the people with the song are Post Malone and Travis Scott. I knew Post was one of them, but I couldn't think of I couldn't think of the third one, but I knew Post Malone was one of them. Yeah. And I really love how that song, like the feel gives you while you're watching this trailer, like that feeling already of like that pain he's feeling through this whole thing. I love that already because they're pulling you in as they can, and the music is definitely one of the ways you can do that. I did love the transition where he's falling and like on the water, and then all of a sudden the crows come out and the heat comes up again. I'm guessing it'll be a little bit faster when it happens in the movie, but that transition alone, I was like, that looks super nice. The only thing, like for me, the makeup, it just reminds me a lot of Joker. It really does. I keep thinking of kind of like a Jared Leto kind of Joker a little bit there. So just like that's what the vibes it gives me. And it's like I'm not watching Batman, so I don't want to feel that way while I'm watching this. But it's like it doesn't look bad. This is one of those that, like I said, I want to just do like a little marathon of all the movies and then watch this one the weekend it comes out and then see how I feel about it comparison to the other ones. But to me, it doesn't look bad. Like I'm willing to give it a chance based on the trailer by itself, and this what a trailer should be. So.
Yeah, and again, I tried to stay away from any of the comments, so I didn't have any preconceived notions of it or anything like that. Again, I went in with little expectation with this one initially because being a big fan of the first one, second one a little bit, but mostly the first one. I didn't want to overthink this, and so watching that again, I'm with you on it. It's enough that I'm interested. Still not enough for me to go, oh my, they might have changed the game and made the greatest Crow movie ever. We'll see. I do like Bill Skarsgård a lot. I think the guy has a face for horror, and I'm not trying to be mean about it. The guy just scares the shit out of me, and so and it's just a natural thing. There's certain actors and actresses who naturally can play evil characters or dark characters so well, and he's just one of them. And that is a compliment to just his ability as an actor in general. So thumbs up. I'll give it a pass. We'll see where it goes. But I'm more inclined to see this next trailer because I've heard so many things, and I'm a fan of these movies. I'm dumbfounded by the fact that apparently 3 of them are coming out back to back in the same year. From what I hear, we'll see about that once it actually happens. But
it reminds me a lot of Fear Street in that sense of it, and it made me think of like I wish it would have been kind of like an event the way Netflix did it, of like this week we're gonna put this one on, we're gonna give you a whole week to feel about it and like have your feelings about it, and then we'll give you the next one, and then we'll keep going that way. So I like that type of scheduling when it comes to that. I feel like it would have been better to put it in a streaming service if you're gonna do that back to back. I feel like it would have been better like if you continue it the week after and kind of make people feel like when they all release you can watch them all together and kind of give you that whole feeling this is a whole movie together. That's what I would have wanted. This one, I love Madeline though from Riverdale. So, and yes, I watch Riverdale. I don't care what people are gonna say about that. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm wondering how that goes, because obviously Riverdale has like a dark tone to it, but also kind of like almost like a sci-fi thing to it. It's kind of hard to describe it. So to see her doing horror, which is kind of like, I want to say kind of like cousins to like sci-fi, but not really related. So I'm just curious to see how she does in this. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, but we'll see by the trailer.
I'm curious too because these 3 killers are scary in every single word. The very first Strangers movie, when I went to that in theater, I wasn't sure what to expect, and I walked out going, I don't get creeped out often, but creeped out sort of a movie. Like there was a certain sense of realism behind it, and the fact that they didn't have an actual motivation, just you were home. That's the line that I'm just like, that's creepy. Creepy AF. Yeah, Steve. And
No, yeah, I felt the same way too. Just like, sheesh, like, what kind of reasoning is that? And it just makes you not only curious for like more, but it just gives you such an intrigue in such a way. And not only that, but I'm like, I like Liv Tyler, so I never expected her to be like horror movie like this, and she did so well. I wanted more horror movies from her, but it just, yeah, I'm curious more about the like the chapters and the releases like this for this one. That's what I'm curious about.
yeah, and my understanding from reading is these are based on books that were written, and these are stories that occurred prior to the previous Strangers installments. So this is kind of a trilogy series that occurs before what we know of the Strangers so far. So very curious. Let's make like No Time Like the Present and find out what happens in Strangers Chapter 1 official trailer. Both these from Lionsgate Films, by the way, I must add. So here we go.
Today is the 3rd day of our 3-day road trip across the country.
Or our 5-year anniversary. What a cool little town. I actually like this so much better than a hotel.
I bet the people who live here are really happy.
Tough crowd, right?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I don't know about you, but anytime that I see 2 creepy kids staring at people, I'm just like, who in their right mind doesn't just say, nope, I'm getting the fuck out of here right now? Like, I'm sorry, creepy kids, this, something about that equals bad right now. So,
Especially when there's 2.
yeah, that's right, yeah. One, you're like, okay, it's just some weird kid from town. When there's 2, it's like, no, those kids are up to no good. I know they're not.
You're welcome.
It's nice.
No.
I think you have the wrong home. That was weird.
Ooh.
You are the messiest eater on the planet.
Lock the front door.
Okay.
Mhm.
Why are you doing this, sir? Because you're here.
And there it is right there.
Mhm.
Creepy. Okay, so that's The Strangers Chapter 1. Again, following very much the similar storyline to what we're used to with the the first installment, with the isolation, the knock at the door, the confusion about who was supposed to be there, who they're asking for. So it falls in line with all that, but I'm intrigued by the fact that it says find out how the strangers became the strangers, which confirms the idea of this being prequels to the original idea. So find out why they do what they do, became what they became. It looks like it ups the ante a little bit. I did like how when she goes to shut the door, and we don't know if that's when she goes to shut it for the first time or if that's later in the movie and just some phenomenal editing on the part of the trailer creator. But when that axe comes through the door right then and there, that was great. Or even the scene where she having the shower and suddenly the guy with the potato sack over his head standing right there. Because initially, one of the creepiest parts about the original Strangers was when Liv Tyler walks by and he's distantly in the background, already in the house. One of the creepiest moments in a horror film, period, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I'm more excited for this than I am. I gotta say that.
Yeah, definitely. It just reminds me a lot too for those. I think it was Scream 5. Those moments with like Wes in the house, and then like he closes this door, and you're like thinking that's where the man killer is. And then this one, the transitions like that. It's why it keeps you at the edge of your seat, keeps you really on your toes. So that transition alone from hair to like from her hair to like the person standing there, just amazing. But yeah, I'm just curious because I like you said, it's just an origin story. It feels like more than anything. So it's like now we'll know really why they are who they are. Um, Being in the like small town kind of feel, it could be anybody in that diner, to be honest, because most of the people that they saw so far, or it could be somebody that isn't on in part of that group and it's just somebody else we don't know. But yeah, it's just like I like the creepiness behind it of like you were here and how they had access to the house and things like that. It just, and this is only the first chapter, so I cannot begin to imagine what the other two have. But they, like you said, I'm just more excited for this one. They and the Crow. This one's more, I don't want to say dear to my heart because that sounds weird from a horror movie. But this one I could feel a little bit more towards because I watched this one with my brother and I really enjoyed it, to the fact that I have a copy of it. And I remember watching the second one, which I liked it, but he didn't enjoy as much, ironically. But just watching these movies, it's nice to see like what really started it, because it's just one of those movies that when I going into it, I didn't know what it was, and it really kept me at the edge of my seat with the editing here, and the back and forth between the couple and then the people, and obviously like the other one is a couple versus three people, so they're already at a disadvantage as it is, which is always interesting at the end too. But yeah, I'm just curious about this one and the other two chapters too.
I have a weird feeling based on what I saw there too, that this might not just be that these three are those three, and that it's more people that could be involved, that this is more of a group thing kind of thing. It just happens to be those three right now kind of thing. And we don't know, like this could be such a jump between this and what we saw of the original Strangers, that the ones we saw in the Strangers might not be the same ones that we're seeing here. And there's the one scene where he's got the shotgun to the one gal with the mask on, and screaming and flailing her head. And I have a strong feeling that's not one of the strangers behind that mask in that scene. And
Oh,
that might actually be his gal or somebody else that's not supposed to be harmed, but gets harmed by him in this process. Just, I think it's going to be a total a mind game that plays out here with them and stuff like that. So very intrigued, and that comes out soon too, if I'm not mistaken, like very soon. So horror season is upon us between that movie, and I know we've got Abigail coming out very soon as well too, which yay, we're going to be covering that one here on the channel. Just so much awesome that we can get into. But speaking of so much awesome that we can get into, let's talk Scream 7, because there is a lot of Scream 7 news floating around all over the planet that we need to discuss, and we'll discuss it as briefly as possible. But sounds like after what we thought was a dead in the water movie, it is now back on. It is now happening, and it is now being directed by original writer Kevin Williamson, as well as now featuring Nev Campbell returning to the series. I have some very strong mixed feelings. I am not sure what to think. I've heard some of the rumors about where the story is going with this one, that there will actually be two intertwining stories potentially within this movie, where you're going to have your legacy cast involved and you're going to have your new cast, and they won't be sharing the same story or necessarily the same ghost story at first, but somewhere along the middle, the stories will begin to intertwine. I've also heard the rumor that this is part of a new planned trilogy, possibly from Kevin Williamson, that this is completely going to wipe away what we were doing and start fresh with a new plot line and everything. Where I'm torn is, I really like the breath of fresh air that the last two movies brought to this franchise. I was really on board with where they were going with the seventh one. I liked the fact that they had a great cast, and now they seem to have lost those for all the wrong reasons, especially because Spyglass is behind this. And with Spyglass still behind it, I'm finding it very hard to connect to being excited about this news. Kevin Williamson directing, I'm very torn on this one, because he's not notoriously a director. He's more a writer. He's an idea guy. Whether or not his direction will bring anything decent to the series, I'm not sure. It's really tough right now to decide what side of the fence I sit on. Will I watch it? Yeah, probably, because I'm a sucker for horror movies. It's just the way it is. But I'm still torn, because I really do think that they should have done the right thing and brought back Melissa Barrera at least for this one, to say, one last storyline and finish that story that was going. It feels unfinished is the biggest problem. And now they have to explain all the things that Six did to explain other things. They're going to have to go back and explain again, like why all of a sudden is there a seventh movie where the focus is back on Nev and possibly her family, when she was essentially in hiding and said, fuck it, I'm not coming back, because I'm done with dealing with all these assholes that are trying to kill me for decades. And now all of a sudden we're going to go right back to that story. So I'm torn myself personally, but that is the news we got. How about yourself? Thoughts on Scream 7?
I mean, if for anybody that has seen our previous chapters, you all know how Scream is my favorite, like, franchise, saga, whatever you want to call it at this point. So it's like I said with strangers, I write it's very dear to my heart, because I have everything Ghostface. I love these movies so much. So I'm just torn about it, because I keep thinking, yeah, it feels like kind of like maybe Neff was trying to be that bridge between Spyglass and Melissa. Maybe. That's what it kind of seems like so far. We don't know the 100% of the behind the scenes. Obviously, just like rumors, to put it like that. It's just, I'm definitely torn about it, because, like you said, I feel like it just, me, I'm bookworm. So I like to finish stories. I like stories, from beginning to end. I don't want it to be like halfway done. All of a sudden, we're going to something different, and we're going to forget about what just happened. And I feel like we were just building such a great story here with with the core four, and I really wanted that to be done before we do anything else with any legacy characters. And it just feels kind of like we're hitting pause on this one, and we're gonna go to the other one, and then come back to you. And it doesn't feel right. It really doesn't. I feel like they have built such a great thing. I feel like out of the newer two, they were building something with Scream 5, so I was patient with it, and then Scream 6 just felt amazing compared to Scream 5.
Mhm.
So I was like, I wanted to continue that storyline. I wanted that to end before we do anything else. And it just, if it's gonna feel so like awkward and out of place without Melissa involved, and then Jenna not involved. We don't know anything about Mason, and I think her name is Nicole, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It just feels awkward not knowing what happens there, and it just feels weird too because if you think about it in the storyline, Tara and Chad are dating, so it's like all of a sudden, what if they bring Chad back, but there's no Tara? So it's like, what would I wouldn't want them to like break up off screen, or have them try to kill the sisters off screen, because it just feels like a disservice to the storyline they were just building, and it doesn't feel right at all. I wish it would just said, "Hey, let's just finish this one, and then we'll be done. We don't have to speak about anything else." And done zone. That's it. Just promote this movie, and just let's be done afterwards. I feel like that would have been the best thing, and just involve all the legacy characters and just wrap it up and give it a good ending. Because I feel like this could have been a good ending, but then now it's either gonna become Scream 7 becomes like a new trilogy at this point, and then what else are we gonna do after this? And then you're gonna come back to the other one later. Just like it doesn't feel right. It just feels weird. I'm definitely torn about it because I definitely want to watch it because I ever since Scream 4, I've been watching other movies in the movie theater afterwards. And then obviously getting the physical copy when it comes out too. So it's just gonna feel weird not to watch it in the movie theaters if I see it coming out. And I'm just like, I'm excited for it because Neff is back, of course. And then we have Kevin Williamson involved. I'm like, yeah, I want to watch it, but I'm like, it's gonna feel so weird not having Melissa and Jenna there already. And who knows who else is not gonna return at this point after that too. So it's a lot of like I feel like I'm in the middle and I don't know which way they're pulling me yet. I think I'm gonna have to see how it goes. And so far the rumors are that it's gonna start like filming in the fall of 2024. So you never know what's gonna happen from here until then. Maybe something will change, who knows? But I I feel like Spyglass just said, look, we'll be fine. Let's just, go, make this one work out, and then after that we're done. And I feel like that would have been a great thing to do, and it would have made them look better because now I feel like people are thinking well, first people are this is one of the two things that people are thinking from the community. It's just like Neff didn't do Scream 6 because of the money, but then now that we don't have Jenna and we don't have Melissa, there's money for her to come in, and she's on board now. So that's why a lot of people in the community think is like, oh, they have the money now, so they must have giving her more than last time for her to jump in and sign on already. Yeah. Meaning that the money that they probably have for the girls went towards her instead. So I was like, yeah, that feels kind of weird. It probably is, right? And and the other part is the people that, like myself, is just to keep thinking of like, I'm so used to watching all these movies in the movie theater and supporting the franchise that you don't know whether you should support it or not. And it's like, there's so many arguments right now, so many things flying through, and obviously nothing's 100% confirmed. So it feels like it's limbo still, even with the news. It just feels like we're floating in the air right now with the little news that we got, and just, I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about it. I wish I would have just done something better and, kind of burn that bridge with the girls. I feel like it would have looked better for them, because still there's going to be some fans that are not going to support Spyglass at all. Not only with Scream, but just at all whatsoever with any other movies because of the way they behave towards Melissa and Jenna a little bit as well. So it's just, especially when there's women of color. It's just another thing. It's like seeing that it's women of color getting affected the way they are. That part doesn't sit right with me.
Well, and here's the catch: is like they're going to go ahead and proceed with this, despite the controversies. Is it going to kill the momentum? Is the other catch. Like, you've already slightly killed the momentum as it is with all the start stop with the strike that went on and this, that, and the other thing. People being busy, but now with this controversy added to it all, you're dividing an audience that was the sole reason that these movies were making money again, and why that we are seeing them in a theatrical release as opposed to a straight to streaming platform or anything like that. That has become the norm for a lot of horror franchises over the years, is that after the first one or two, the rest of them were always straight to VHS, straight to DVD, whatever it was. We were seeing an uptick with Scream. In fact, Scream 6 being the one that had drawn more money than any of the other movies in the franchise. And I saw a lot of people too complain that, like, oh, well, you know, if they sell it to somebody else isn't going to have the kind of money to put into it. And I'm like, well, arguably the first Scream movie didn't have a lot of money put into it. So the real money that you need here is to bring back the named people like Melissa, Jenna, Nev, Courtney, I guess. Sorry, I could do without Courtney in these series at this point, but with the other three, the money that you would spend essentially should be there. As far as practical effects and storytelling, Wes Craven was a master at doing that for little to no budget for so long that I think that if you put this in the hands of, say, somebody like Blumhouse Pictures, who have the mentality of making small budget films but making them feel big, tends to be something that I would have trusted more than watching a Spyglass feature after the way they've done what they did. The biggest problem for me is horror movie fan, and despite everything, one way or another, I will still watch it because that just part of me that needs to know. And whether I agree with it, like it, anything of the sort, I have that I needs to knows attitude, and I'm still gonna needs to know. So yeah, as much as it might pain me, I will still watch Scream 7, I think. So
Yeah, it's just definitely still an awkward kind of situation, an awkward timeline, even with everything. It's, I don't know. I'm torn, but I'm kind of, so far I'm leaning more towards like I'll watch it in the movie theater, and I'll get my physical copy like I usually do, because it's just kind of like a tradition for me at this point to do it. But yeah, I'm curious. Like you said, I'm also curious about what the storyline will be now with not involving them. I just hope they don't kill them off screen somehow. Please don't do that. That would be so freaking stupid. Please don't.
Yes, please don't. We don't need that, because eventually, if everybody ever cleared everything up and we got to have them back, we need to finish that story still. We need to. Maybe that intertwines into the new trilogy once you figure everything out and get payments to the right people and apologize publicly for destroying Melissa like they did, kind of thing, because that's total bullshit. It really is. And she should be the new face of the Scream series, but she's not, unfortunately, because of this whole thing. And thank you, Spyglass, for ruining Scream for us. I didn't think I'd ever have to say those words, but sell your soul to somebody else.
And this is why we have to support Abigail coming out in April next month, because it features Melissa. So let's support her and all her other projects, so they could see that we still support her as an individual, even without Spyglass.
And not only that, from the directors of Scream 5 and 6 and Ready or Not comes another amazing movie from these wonderful horror directors. And I'm saying it now, I'm going to go on a limb. Abigail's going to be great. I have no doubt in my mind. As soon as I saw that trailer, I'm like, what is this? And then when it got going, I'm like, oh, I like this. So I'm really excited for Abigail. A lot of great horror coming out this year. A lot of interesting sequels coming out this year. Again, we have another Saw movie coming out this year. We have, I think, Smile 2 comes out this year as well. This all sorts of crazy stuff, including like a reboot of Nosferatu, the original vampire film. This time being done by the same director who did The Lighthouse and The Witch, the BV Witch movie. So it should be very interesting year for horror. Terrifier 3, of course, can't go wrong with Terrifier 3. That should be golden. But we will get to talking about more horror throughout the year as it becomes available, as we see more movies. And I'm sure there will be a lot of video releases on the different streaming platforms this year that we'll be able to check out and review here for you on the channel. And we'll do our best to come back with more episodes like this where we give you news, video reacts, anything of the sort. But I think we could call it a day right now on everything we got going on here. But Astrid, let the people know what you got going on, where they can find you.
You can find me again every Tuesday doing Taking Over with OLED at Fry's immediately after NXT. And usually we're doing a lot of post shows lately. So when the post show we get for Set and Deliver, we'll definitely have coverage for that. And the day before for a preview show. So watch out for that whenever it's a little bit closer to the date. We'll have a date and time for that. Other than that, you can find me as it is there on my Twitter, Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro. And then Instagram and Threads, Astrid Pizarro 20. And everything else you can find on my YouTube channel, including everything from Killer Cuts to Taking Over to Ladies Fashion Showcase, and even now I should ask that will continue moving forward thanks to Body Sam. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel as well to get more of that.
Wonderful. And there is my ticker down below. That's where you're going to be able to find me. As for what I got going on, this is out on a Friday. So yesterday you would have seen for the very first time I wasn't on Ring Respect Radio. In fact, my fill-in Ed Fries took care of business there with Pop Smokes. But I will be back this coming Thursday night as myself, Pop Smokes, will be interviewing and spending some time with the legendary Ross Hart of the infamous Hart family of professional wrestlers. So stay tuned to that and get in your questions for Mr. Ross Hart. You can catch me every Sunday on Point of View, the show where you control the narrative. Tell me what you want to talk about from the world of pop culture while I do some video games or watch-alongs or anything of the sorts. Outside of that, post shows as well too. I seem to hop on those. We've done TNA post shows. We've got all sorts of post shows for WrestleMania lined up. We got lots coming up on the channel, so if you want to stay tuned for everything OLE, make sure to check out this ticker down below, which is going to find you all OLE on all the socials, YouTube, Twitch. Likes, follows, subscribes, always encouraged and appreciated as well. From myself and Astrid Pizarro, this has been Killer Cuts Chapter 10. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.